So today, Annie and I are going to be talking about the perceptions of marijuana use and how that also correlates with a sense of belonging. So this is relevant because for the first time since 1980, more college kids are actually smoking marijuana rather than smoking cigarettes. So this is a national high. This hasn't really happened since 1980. So this is the first time that more kids have preferred smoking marijuana rather than cigarettes. Is Annie on?
Annie, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Okay, so according to prior research, there's strong correlations between usage and modeling through social influences like peer sensations, social pressures, and observing other people's behaviors. So this social modeling increases the likelihood of an individual to adopt a behavior, and then adopting certain behaviors or changing attitudes on substance use on college campuses may occur due to the individual's neediness to belong. So with these change in peer sensations and sense of belonging, when you transition from high school to college, you often have different peer sensations and you seek different groups. There's also a misperception and overestimation of average use, and respondents typically misperceived and overestimated how often the average student used certain drugs, and this could reveal more frequent use because of these attitudes towards drug use.
So for our current study, we really had 4 main research questions that we focused on. And the first one is, do staff and students differ in their perceptions of how important marijuana is to the Hanover experience? And our hypothesis for this is that students will have a higher perception of the importance of marijuana to the college experience than faculty and staff members do. Our second research question is, do faculty and staff and students differ in their senses of belonging and perceptions of Hanover College? And what is the perceived sense of belonging for students and faculty staff members? And we hypothesize that the students will have a higher sense of belonging on campus than the faculty and staff members do. Our third research question is, perceived use and sense of belonging correlated? And we hypothesize that it will have a positive correlation, but really only among the students. And our fourth research question is, what is the perceived amount of substance use? So we perceive that the substance use will be higher for students than it will be for faculty and staff members.
So we also had follow-up questions that we were curious about. And one of them was, is marijuana normative on campus or seen as an integral, risky part of the college experience? As well as, what are the perceptions of marijuana usage depending on Greek status?
So for our methodology, we just strictly used the Hanover College population since it was centralized to just Hanover College. But we had 95 students, and 15 faculty and staff members that took our survey. So we collected this through an online electronic surveying, and for our recruitment, we sent it to the faculty and staff members that we could think of. We sent it to Greek houses, psychology students that could possibly take our survey for some credit, snowballing method, which is really just the word of mouth, and we posted it on the My Hanover app.
So for our procedure, we did 2 different scales. The perceived importance of marijuana to the college experience scale. This was a 5-point rating scale where they could rate from 1, strongly disagree, to 5, strongly agree. And our Cronbach's alpha was 0.8816, which is very reliable. And then we used a sense of social fit scale, which was also a 5-point scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree, with a Cronbach's alpha of 0.91, again, highly reliable. We also asked some frequency of use questions and demographic questions. We added the demographic questions at the very end, so it didn't influence their answers when they took our survey.
So these are just some sample questions that we pulled from the perceived importance of marijuana to the college experience scale. So they would go through the survey and click one strong or strongly disagree to one highly agree. So to get high on marijuana is a college rite of passage. I have heard if my college is not considered a marijuana school, it is okay to get high on marijuana in college, even if it's not legal, questions like that.
And these are some sample questions from our sense of social fit scale. For example, people at Hanover College accept me. I feel like an outsider at Hanover College. I fit in well at Hanover College. I belong at Hanover College. And it is a mystery to me how Hanover College works.
And then we asked some frequency of use questions. Obviously, when we were doing the survey, we didn't want it to collect that much sensitive data. So we tried to limit the frequency of use questions and put it at the end before the demographic questions. And also all of these questions were kind of optional to answer. We didn't want to put any pressure on the responder of the survey, especially if they didn't feel comfortable answering these questions. But some of these questions were, you consider yourself a recreational drug user, yes or no? Or do you see marijuana as a normal, risky, or integral behavior? Which the options were normal, risky, or integral.
So for our first question, the perceived importance of marijuana by faculty and staff, we created this cluster column. We had 15 faculty, 93 staff, or 93 students, I'm sorry. These are our mean scores for faculty, 1.836, and a mean of 2.198 for students. And our p-value was significant at 0.01. So we can say that students perceive marijuana, the importance of marijuana to the college experience higher than faculty and staff.
So for our second research question, we try to focus on just sense of belonging. And so we have the same numbers, n equals 13 for faculty and staff, but for the student portion, I think it's lower just because we had some people not answer these questions, but the n equals 88 with the mean score for faculty and staff is 4.01 and the mean for students as being 3.963. So it was just slightly higher between the faculty and staff, which means that we didn't have a huge significance. Actually, we had no significance with the p-value equals 0.517. And the cluster column can just describe that graph on you from the 0 to 5 scale.
Our third research question was looking at overall belonging and perceived importance of marijuana. So we ran a correlation. Our R value was negative 0.2389. So it was negatively correlated with a p-value of 0.016 again. So this is significant. So the higher the belonging score, the lower you view marijuana as important to the college experience, and vice versa. The graph shows the range for faculty and staff. You can see that from the previous slide, the sense of belonging for faculty was, they had a higher range of answers, while the students thought that marijuana was more important. And then we ran a correlation for students only, and we got a p-value or an R value of negative 0.2208 and a p-value of 0.04, again, negatively correlated and very significant.
So for our fourth research question, we weren't able to actually ask specifically about use, but what we were able to ask was the perceptions of what the campus thought the usage levels were. So for students, they actually thought that 50.96% of the campus uses marijuana, which I think is high considering that normally there is some normal overestimation, but the students think that's practically half the campus that uses marijuana. And the faculty and staff members through the survey thought that 31.77% of the campus uses marijuana. So there is some differences between the faculty and staff, but the students answered way higher than the faculty and staff members did over their perceptions of how much of the campus they thought used marijuana.
2 minutes, Seth.
So one of our follow-up questions was whether Greek affiliation had an impact on them thinking marijuana was important or their sense of belonging. Actually, we just looked at importance of marijuana with a p-value of 0.748, which was not significant. So we can't say that being Greek affiliated is associated with thinking that marijuana is important to your college experience.
So I thought this was really interesting. This was our response to the do you think marijuana is normative, risky, or integral behavior? And this includes the faculty and staff members along with the students. We didn't separate them. I thought it was kind of more interesting that way. So 65% actually said that they thought marijuana was normative for the college behavior, even though technically it's still a very illegal behavior, especially in the state of Indiana. And we had 31% that thought that it was risky. But I thought it was very interesting because only technically 4% thought that it was actually integral to the college experience.
So these are our key findings. We found that faculty or staff viewed the importance of marijuana to the college experience less than students. Sense of belonging on campus is negatively correlated with importance of marijuana to the college experience. The more positively an individual views marijuana is important to the college experience, the less likely they feel like they belong on Hanover's campus. And there's just an association there. And students perceived a higher frequency of marijuana use on campus than faculty and staff members. So a few of our hypotheses were supported. We thought that there would be a positive correlation with importance of marijuana and sense of belonging. We thought that students would perceive marijuana higher, and we thought that students would think marijuana was more important than faculty and staff.
So for our future research, I think it would definitely be interesting to look at marijuana use on academic performance. I think that's especially important since legalization is already in some states, but how legalization bills have kind of come around and how that would kind of affect the college experience. And also I would like to look at more of the sense of belonging. So like what directly impacts the way that students feel like they belong on campus, and how does kind of the party culture and the stereotype of party culture of colleges affect the sense of belonging. And for our limitations, we obviously had fewer faculty staff members than students. And smoker status differs for everyone. So for the previous questions, when we asked about normal, risky, or integral, a definition of normal would be kind of abstract. And also we had a smaller sample size just because we mainly looked at Hanover College directly. So it's kind of hard to bring these findings to impact kind of all of college when we specifically looked at Hanover.
Any questions or comments?
I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering how you guys thought the results would have differed if you had done this on a bigger campus, say like IU or something versus Hanover.
I think that, honestly, I think we would have found similar results. I think that, especially with the overestimation of use, we have a tendency to kind of think that more people around us kind of partake in this culture than other people do. But I think especially when you are on those kind of bigger campuses and you have a bigger population, that the overestimation may even be higher. And I think it would have been more interesting if we were able to do it at like an IU campus space to have more faculty and staff professors. I think mainly just because we know the faculty and staff members here, I would consider ourselves very close to the faculty and staff members there. But I think it may have been harder to do something like this at IU, where there are more like faculty and staff professors and things like that.